Give it back. That was the first thing Mason Cole ever said to me that didn't sound like a threat. Which was weird, because up until that afternoon, I was pretty sure threats were his main language. It happened in the west hallway after my sociology class, right when everyone was rushing out like the building was on fire. I had my backpack half open, 2 books under one arm, and my phone in my hand because I was trying to answer a message without walking into somebody. Bad idea. Someone bumped my shoulder hard. My notebook slipped. My phone flew out of my hand, hit the tile, and slid across the hallway like it had somewhere important to be. Straight to Mason Cole's boots. Of course. Out of everyone in that school, it had to stop in front of him. Mason was leaning against the lockers with one foot crossed over the other, black hoodie, ripped jeans, that stupid silver ring on his thumb catching the light. He looked down at my phone, then at me. My stomach dropped before anything had even gone wrong. That's mine, I said, trying not to sound like I was begging. He bent down and picked it up. No hurry, no expression, just Mason being Mason, like the whole hallway had to move around his silence. Then the screen lit up. I saw the notification before he could look away. From Riley. Did you tell anyone you're gay yet? Or are you still pretending that closet has Wi-Fi? My whole body went cold. Not dramatic cold. Real cold. Like all the noise in the hallway suddenly moved underwater. Mason's eyes flicked to the screen. 1 second. Maybe less. But it was enough. He saw it. I knew he saw it. My fingers went numb around the strap of my backpack. For a second, I actually thought about lying, which was insane because he hadn't even said anything yet. I wanted to grab the phone, laugh, make some stupid excuse. Riley jokes like that. It's not what it looks like. Wrong number. Anything. But my mouth wouldn't work. Mason turned the phone face down in his palm. That small movement hit me harder than if he'd laughed. He didn't show anyone. He didn't hold it up. He didn't smirk and say something cruel loud enough for the entire hallway to hear. He just covered the screen like it mattered. Like I mattered. Miller, he muttered. My name sounded different coming from him. Lower. Careful. I stepped closer, because what else could I do? Can I have it back? My voice cracked on the last word. I hated that. Mason noticed. Of course he did. His gaze stayed on my face for a second too long, and I couldn't tell if he was judging me or trying to figure out why I looked like I might pass out. Then he placed the phone in my hand. Not tossed. Not shoved. Placed. His fingers brushed mine for half a second. Barely anything. Still, my chest tightened like my body had decided to make the whole thing worse. Careful where you drop things. That was all he said. Then he turned back toward his locker like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just become the only person at school who knew the one thing I had spent years hiding. I stood there with my phone against my palm, staring at him like an idiot. Part of me expected him to laugh after I walked away. Or text someone. Or call out, "Hey, did you guys know Ethan Miller?" But he didn't. He just opened his locker, pulled out a textbook, and ignored the world. I told myself it was fine. Mason Cole didn't care about me. Mason Cole barely cared about anybody. Maybe he forgot the message already. Maybe to him, it was nothing. Just another dumb secret in a school full of them. I almost believed that. Until last period ended. I was near the front doors, trying to leave fast, when Tyler Reeves stepped in front of me with that bored smile people get right before they ruin your day. "Yo, Ethan," he said, nodding at my phone. "You dropped that earlier, right?" My throat went dry. "Yeah." So, Tyler reached like he was going to snatch it. I jerked back too late. His fingers almost closed around the edge. Then a hand landed on Tyler's shoulder. Not hard. Just enough. Tyler froze. Mason stood behind him, expression flat, eyes dark. "Give it back," he said. Tyler laughed once, but it came out weak. "Relax, man. I was joking." Mason didn't move. Then joked somewhere else. The hallway went quiet in that weird way hallways do when people smell trouble. Tyler let go. My phone stayed in my hand. Mason's eyes met mine for 1 second. No smile. No explanation. Then he walked past both of us like he hadn't just saved me from whatever that almost became. I should have felt relieved. I did. Kind of. But mostly, my heart was pounding because Mason Cole had seen my biggest secret, and for some reason, he was protecting it. I spent the rest of the day waiting for my life to fall apart. That sounds dramatic, but it is exactly what it felt like. Every time someone laughed behind me, my shoulders tensed. Every time a phone buzzed, my stomach dropped. Every time I saw Mason Cole at the end of a hallway, leaning against a locker or cutting through a crowd like he owned the place, I wondered if he had told someone. Or if he was about to. The stupid part was, he did not even look at me most of the time. Not obviously. Not in a way anyone else would notice. But I noticed. Once, during lunch, I caught him by the vending machines with two guys from the parking lot crowd. Tyler was there too, talking too loud, acting like he had not almost grabbed my phone earlier. Mason stood beside him, one hand in his hoodie pocket, face bored. Then Tyler glanced across the cafeteria at me. I looked down so fast my neck hurt. A second later, the table beside me went quiet. I did not look up. I just stabbed at my fries like they had personally ruined my life. Dude, you okay? Riley's voice came through my phone speaker later that afternoon when I finally called him from the stairwell. You sound like you swallowed a battery. I pressed my back against the concrete wall and shut my eyes. Mason Cole saw your text. Silence. Then, the bad boy Mason? How many Masons do you think are walking around this campus looking like they commit crimes recreationally? Riley exhaled. Okay. Bad. Thank you. Very helpful. Did he say anything? I thought about Mason turning my phone face down. The way his thumb had covered the message like he knew exactly what not to expose. The way his fingers had brushed mine when he gave it back. I hated that I remembered that part most clearly. No, I admitted. That is the weird thing. He did not say anything. Maybe he is not a jerk. I almost laughed. It is Mason Cole. That does not answer the question. Before I could respond, the stairwell door opened. I jumped like I had been caught doing something illegal. Mason stepped in, stopping when he saw me. Of course. Of course he would show up while I was talking about him. I have to go, I muttered, hanging up before Riley could make it worse. Mason looked from my phone to my face. His expression did not change, but something in his eyes sharpened. I am not following you. Did not say you were. My voice came out too quick, too defensive. He leaned one shoulder against the wall, leaving a few feet between us. Enough space to be polite. Not enough space for my heart to calm down. Tyler is bored, he said. Just like that. No greeting. No warm-up. That is usually when he starts doing stupid things. I swallowed. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, his mouth twitched, almost like a smile, but not quite. It is supposed to make you careful. I looked away first. I hated that he could make a warning sound like concern. I can take care of myself. I saw. That should have annoyed me. It did annoy me. Mostly. But his voice was not mocking. It was quiet. Like he was remembering the hallway too. Like he had seen how badly my hand shook around my phone and decided not to mention it until now. Why do you care? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Mason held my gaze for a second too long. The stairwell hummed around us. Somewhere below, a door slammed. He did not answer right away. Then he pushed off the wall and walked toward the stairs. As he passed me, his sleeve brushed my arm. Barely there. Still enough to make my breath catch. He stopped one step down, not turning all the way back. Because it was not his to touch. My throat tightened. I had no comeback for that. Mason glanced at the phone in my hand. Put a passcode on your lock screen. I have one. A better one. Then he left, footsteps fading down the stairs like he had not just made my entire chest feel too small. I stood there for another minute, staring at the door. I told myself he was just being decent. Maybe even guilty. Maybe Mason Cole had a secret soft spot for stopping Tyler from being an idiot. That was all. It meant nothing. But when I unlocked my phone, my fingers were still shaking. And the first thing I did was change my passcode. The next morning, I found Mason Cole sitting across from me in the library like that was a normal thing people did. I had been there for maybe 20 minutes, pretending to read the same paragraph over and over, when a chair scraped against the floor. I looked up, ready to be annoyed, and nearly dropped my pen. Mason sat down with a paper coffee cup in one hand and my sociology textbook in the other, which was weird because I had not even seen him pick it up. You always study alone? My brain took 1 second too long to work. You always steal textbooks. He glanced at the cover, then slid it back across the table. Borrowed. From me. You were not using it. I stared at him. He stared back like he had all day. That was the thing about Mason. Most people looked away when silence got awkward. He did not. He just stayed there and let the silence become your problem. I looked down first. Why are you here? Mason placed the coffee cup beside my laptop. Not in front of himself. In front of me. You looked half dead yesterday. My chest did something stupid. So you bought me coffee? Do not make it weird. You made it weird. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. Then give it back. I should have. I really should have pushed it across the table and told him I did not need him watching me. warning me, buying me caffeine like he had somehow become my personal security guard with good timing. Instead, I wrapped my hand around the cup. It was warm. There was a little sticker on the side from the campus cafe. Vanilla latte. My usual. I had no idea how he knew that. I looked at him too quickly. Mason noticed. Of course he noticed. You get the same thing every Tuesday and Thursday, he muttered, reaching for my pen like that explanation was completely normal. My stomach flipped so hard I had to breathe through it. That is not creepy at all. You sit by the window every Tuesday and Thursday too. You are making it worse. This time, he actually smiled. Small. Quick. Gone before I could fully react. But I saw it. And I hated how much I wanted to see it again. Across the library, someone snorted. I turned and saw Tyler near the printers with two guys from his usual crowd. He was looking at us, not even hiding it. Then he said something to one of them, low enough that I could not hear the words, but loud enough to make both of them look over. My fingers tightened around the coffee cup. Mason's face changed before I even said anything. The softness disappeared. His eyes moved to Tyler, flat and cold. Tyler raised both hands like he was innocent, but he was still smiling. Relax, Cole, he called across the room. Did not know you were tutoring now. A couple people looked up. Heat climbed up my neck. Tutoring. Right. That was all this could look like. Two guys sitting at a table, one of them helping the other. Normal. Easy. Nothing to panic about. Mason leaned back in his chair, calm enough to be dangerous. You need help reading the printer instructions again, Tyler? The guys around Tyler laughed before they could stop themselves. Tyler's smile dropped. I should have felt relieved. Instead, my heart started pounding, because Mason had not moved away from me. If anything, he shifted closer, his knee brushing mine under the table. Not an accident this time. At least, it did not feel like one. I froze. Mason did not. He kept looking at Tyler until Tyler finally turned back to the printer, muttering something under his breath. Only then did Mason look at me. His knee was still touching mine. You good? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to sound normal. Instead, I stared at him like an idiot and whispered, "Why do you know my coffee order?" That caught him off guard. For once, Mason looked away first. He turned my pen between his fingers, jaw tight, like he was deciding whether to lie. I noticed things. The words landed too softly. Too honestly. The library felt smaller all of a sudden. The space between us felt impossible to ignore. I told myself he meant nothing by it. Maybe Mason noticed everyone. Maybe he knew Tyler's coffee order too. Maybe this was just another warning dressed up as a latte. Then Mason pushed a folded scrap of paper toward me. Also, your password is terrible. I blinked. Excuse me. You changed it to your birthday. My face went hot. How would you know that? He gave me a look. Because you typed it in front of me yesterday in the stairwell. I groaned, covering my face with one hand. I hate my life. Do not. Just pick something harder to guess. I lowered my hand. On the paper, he had written one line in messy black ink. Change your passcode. Not your whole life. My throat tightened so fast I had to look away. Because that was not something a guy said if he did not care. That was not nothing. And for the first time since Mason found my phone, I could not make myself believe it was. By the end of that week, Mason Cole had become a problem I did not know how to explain. Not a bad problem. That was the issue. Bad problems were easy. You avoided them. You blocked them. You told Riley about them while pacing your dorm room and eating cereal straight from the box. Mason was different. Mason was a coffee on the library table, a quiet warning in the stairwell, a folded note I definitely did not keep in the back pocket of my notebook like some embarrassing little secret. He started showing up in places that made too much sense. Outside the cafeteria when Tyler was around. Near the front doors when my evening class ended late. By the vending machines when I skipped lunch and pretended I was not hungry. He never made a big deal out of it. That almost made it worse. One Thursday, rain started coming down right before my last class let out. Not cute movie rain. Cold, sideways rain that slapped against the windows and turned the sidewalk into one giant puddle. I stood under the awning with half the campus, scrolling through my phone and trying to figure out if running back to my dorm was worth ruining my sneakers. Then a black pickup rolled up to the curb. The passenger window lowered. Mason looked at me from behind the wheel. Get in. I stared at him. That is your invitation? You want balloons? Someone behind me laughed. I felt my face warm. Mason's eyes flicked past my shoulder, then back to me. Softer this time. Ethan, it is raining. I hated how normal my name sounded in his mouth. like he had been saying it for years. I got him before I could overthink it. The inside of his truck smelled like old leather, mint gum, and black coffee. There was a hoodie tossed in the back seat, a stack of parking tickets in the cup holder, and a tiny plastic dinosaur glued to the dashboard for reasons I was afraid to ask about. Mason noticed me looking. Do not judge him. Him. That is Greg. I looked at the dinosaur. Then at Mason. You named your dashboard Dinosaur Greg. He has been through a lot. I laughed before I could stop myself. Mason glanced over, and for 1 second his face changed. Not much. Just enough that the air in the truck felt warmer. He pulled away from the curb. For a while, neither of us said anything. The wipers dragged back and forth. Rain blurred the campus lights. My knee bounced because silence with Mason was never empty. It always felt like there was something under it. Something waiting. Tyler has been asking about you, Mason finally muttered. My laugh disappeared. Great. Not directly. His hand tightened slightly on the steering wheel. But enough. I looked down at my phone in my lap. Maybe I should just stop talking to people. That is stupid. Thanks. You should stop letting people scare you into disappearing. My chest tightened. I turned toward the window because looking at him suddenly felt like too much. Easy for you to say. Mason was quiet for so long I thought I had offended him. Then he pulled into the parking lot behind my dorm and put the truck in park. Rain hammered the roof. Neither of us moved. It is not easy, he said. His voice was lower now. Different. I looked at him. He was staring out the windshield, jaw working like he was biting back words. People think they know things about me too. I almost said everyone knew things about him. The fights, the suspensions, the rumors. But something stopped me. Maybe the way his thumb rubbed slowly over the steering wheel. Maybe the fact that, for once, Mason looked tired instead of untouchable. Are they wrong? His eyes shifted to mine. The question hung there between us, too direct to take back. Mason did not answer. He just looked at me, rain cutting silver lines down the glass behind him. My pulse started acting stupid again. Mason, I meant to ask something normal. I swear I did. But his name came out too soft. His gaze dropped for half a second. Not far. Just to my mouth, then back up. My breathing stopped. The truck felt tiny. Way too tiny. He leaned closer. Just a little, like he was not even sure he meant to. I did not move away. His hand lifted from the steering wheel and stopped near mine on the center console. Not touching. Almost. The space between our fingers was maybe an inch. Maybe less. Do not look at me like that, he murmured. My voice barely worked. Like what? Mason swallowed. For the first time since I had known him, he looked scared of his own answer. Then a loud knock hit the passenger window. I jumped so hard my elbow slammed the door. Mason jerked back. Tyler stood outside in the rain with that same bored smile. Had pulled up, eyes moving between us like he had just found something better than gossip. Mason's face went flat instantly. Mine went cold. Tyler raised his hand in a lazy wave. Did not know you two were this close. And just like that, whatever had almost happened disappeared before either of us could name it. Tyler kept smiling through the passenger window like he had caught us doing something worse than sitting in a parked truck during a rainstorm. My hand tightened around my phone. Mason did not move for a second. Not because he was scared. At least, not in the way I was. He just went still in that dangerous way he had, like every part of him had locked into place. Then he rolled the window down 2 inches. Rain blew in immediately. You lost. Tyler leaned closer, water dripping from the edge of his hood. Nah. Just walking by. Mason looked around the mostly empty parking lot. Through the back dorm lot. Tyler's smile twitched. Free country. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wanted to say something. Anything. But all I could think about was how close Mason had been 2 seconds earlier. His hand almost touching mine. His voice telling me not to look at him like that. And now Tyler was staring at us like he could smell the thing we had not even admitted. Mason's jaw tightened. Keep walking. Tyler's eyes slid to me. Relax, Miller. I am not judging. That word hit wrong. Judging. Like he already knew what shape the rumor would take. Like he was testing which part of me flinched first. I hated that I did. Mason saw it. His hand moved from the steering wheel, slow and controlled, and rested on the center console between us. Not touching me. Close enough that I knew it was there. Say his name again like that, Mason murmured. And we are going to have a problem. Tyler lifted both hands, laughing under his breath. Man, you are really protective lately. No one spoke. The rain filled the silence. Tyler looked from Mason to me, then back to Mason, like he was saving the image for later. Cute. Then he walked off, shoulders hunched against the rain, but not before throwing one last look over his shoulder. Mason rolled the window up. The truck felt even smaller than before, but not in the same way. The almost from a minute ago was gone. In its place was something sharp and ugly. You should go inside, Mason muttered. I stared at him. That is it. Ethan. No, do not do that. My voice shook, which made me angrier. Do not almost say something, almost do something, and then act like Tyler showing up means I should run back to my room. Mason looked at me then. Really looked. His eyes were darker than usual, not cold. Worried. That is exactly why you should go inside. I laughed once, but it came out wrong. Because people might talk? Because Tyler will. He already is. Then do not give him more. The words landed harder than he probably meant them to. I turned toward the windshield, blinking fast, embarrassed by how much they stung. Of course. There it was. The practical answer. The safe answer. Mason was not embarrassed of me. That was what I told myself. He was just being smart. He was protecting the secret. Protecting me. Still, it felt a little too much like being pushed away. Right, I whispered. Would not want to give him more. Mason exhaled, rough and frustrated. That is not what I meant. It kind of is. He reached toward me, then stopped himself. That almost hurt worse than if he had done nothing at all. Ethan, I am trying to keep you out of his mouth. Maybe I am tired of people deciding what keeps me safe. That shut him up. For a second, neither of us moved. My chest felt tight. His hand was still halfway between us, frozen in the space he refused to cross. Then my phone buzzed. Riley. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Then again. Mason glanced down. Answer it. I did, mostly because I needed to stop looking at his hand. Riley's voice came through frantic and too loud. Dude, what happened with Tyler? My stomach dropped. What? He is already texting people. He said Mason is acting like your bodyguard because you have something on him. I closed my eyes. Great. Riley lowered his voice. People are asking questions. Mason heard enough. I could tell by the way his face went completely blank. Not careless. Controlled. Too controlled. Go inside, he said quietly. This time, I did not argue. I opened the door and stepped into the rain. Before I shut it, Mason leaned over slightly. His voice softened just enough to make everything worse. I am not ashamed of being seen with you. My hand froze on the door. He looked straight at me. I am scared of what people will do to you because of me. I did not know what to say to that. So I just stood there, rain soaking my hoodie, heart doing something painful and stupid. Mason's gaze dropped to my wet sleeve. For a second, I thought he might get out. Instead, he leaned back, jaw tight. Inside, Ethan. I shut the door. By the time I reached the dorm entrance, my phone was buzzing nonstop. But all I could think about was Mason saying he was scared. Not of me. For me. And somehow that made the whole thing more dangerous. By midnight, Tyler's rumor had already turned into 4 different versions. In one version, Mason owed me money. In another, I had caught him cheating on some girl. In the dumbest one, we were secretly running some kind of campus blackmail ring, which honestly would have required more confidence than I had ever had in my life. Riley sat on my dorm room floor eating my chips like emotional support came with a snack fee. For what it is worth, he mumbled, nobody knows anything real. I lay on my bed, phone against my chest, staring at the ceiling. That is not as comforting as you think. I am trying. Try harder. My phone buzzed again. I flinched before I even looked. Mason, just one message. Are you awake? My chest tightened so fast I forgot Riley was in the room. He noticed immediately. Is that him? No, you are a terrible liar. Another message came in. Can we talk? I sat up. Riley's face changed. Less teasing now. Do you want me to stay? I almost said yes. Then I thought about Mason in the truck, his hand stopping halfway between us. I am not ashamed of being seen with you. I am scared of what people will do to you because of me. No, I whispered. I think I need to do this. 10 minutes later, I found Mason outside the side entrance of my dorm, under the covered walkway, hoodie dark from the rain. He was not leaning like usual, not acting bored. He was pacing. Mason Cole was pacing. That scared me more than anything Tyler had said. When he saw me, he stopped immediately. His eyes moved over my face like he was checking for damage. You should not have come out here. I crossed my arms. You asked me to. I know. Then maybe start making sense. His jaw flexed. For a second, I thought he would shut down again. Do the whole quiet, cold, walk-away thing that made everyone think he did not feel anything. But he did not. He dragged a hand through his wet hair and looked at the ground. I messed up. That knocked some of the anger out of me. With Tyler. With you. My fingers tightened around my sleeves. Mason stepped closer, then stopped, like he was forcing himself to leave me space. In the truck, I made it sound like you were the problem. You were not. I looked away because his voice was doing that thing again. Low. Careful. Too honest. It felt like you wanted me to disappear. I know. He swallowed. That is why I am here. The rain tapped against the metal roof above us. Somewhere inside the dorm, people were laughing by the vending machines. Normal sounds. Normal night. Except Mason was standing 3 feet from me looking like normal had finally run out. I did not want you to leave, he admitted. My heart stumbled. I turned back to him slowly. Mason's eyes held mine, and this time, he did not look away. In the truck, he continued, quieter, before Tyler knocked. I did not want you to move away. I did not want to move away either. For a second, my brain just stopped. I heard the rain, my own breathing, the buzzing light above the door. Mason, I know. A rough little laugh left him, but there was no humor in it. Trust me, I know. He rubbed his thumb over that silver ring like he needed something to do with his hands. This was supposed to be simple. I saw something I was not supposed to see. I kept my mouth shut. I made sure Tyler stayed away. That was it. His eyes dropped for half a second, then came back up. Then you started looking at me like I was not who everyone says I am. My throat went tight. Maybe you are not. That hit him. I saw it. His whole face shifted, barely, but enough. The hard edges softened. That is the problem, he murmured. You make me want to be. Neither of us moved. The space between us felt charged, but not rushed. Not like the truck. This was slower. Worse. Better. Mason looked at my hand where it was gripping my sleeve. Can I? I did not know what he meant until he reached out. Palm open. Waiting. Not taking. Waiting. My chest hurt. I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and careful, like he was afraid I might vanish if he held too tight. It was just a hand. That was all. But my entire body reacted like it meant something, because it did. Mason stared down at our hands. I do not hate this, he said, almost under his breath. A laugh broke out of me, shaky and stupid. That is your big confession? His mouth twitched, but his eyes stayed serious. For me? Yeah. He squeezed my hand once. It is a lot. I believed him. That was the scary part. I believed every word. Then the door behind me opened, and voices spilled out from the lobby. Mason let go fast, but not fast enough. Riley stepped outside, holding my forgotten jacket. His eyes went from me to Mason to the space where our hands had just been. He paused. Oh, my face burned. Mason went still beside me. Riley lifted the jacket slowly. I am going to pretend I saw absolutely nothing. Then his mouth curved. But Ethan, you are definitely telling me everything later. Riley did not pretend very well. That was the first problem. The second problem was that Mason did. After Riley handed me my jacket and disappeared back inside with the least convincing, innocent face I had ever seen, Mason barely said anything else. He stepped back. Not far. Just enough for me to feel the space return between us. You should get inside before you freeze. His voice was calm again. Too calm. I looked at him, still feeling the shape of his hand around mine like my skin had memorized it without asking me. That is it. Mason's eyes flicked toward the dorm door. It is late. Right. I hated how small the word sounded. He noticed. Of course he did. His mouth tightened like he wanted to fix it, but he did not. He just nodded once and walked away into the rain. I stood there under the covered walkway feeling stupid, holding my jacket against my chest like it could keep me from falling apart over a handhold. Inside, Riley was waiting by the elevators with both eyebrows raised. So he started. Do not. I was going to say nice weather. I gave him a look. He sighed and followed me upstairs. For the next 10 minutes, I gave him the short version, which was still too much. Mason finding my phone. Mason protecting me. The truck. Tyler. The almost. The hand. Riley listened quietly for once, sitting cross-legged on my desk chair with my jacket in his lap. When I finished, he did not make a joke. That worried me. What? I muttered. Riley picked at a loose thread. I think he likes you. My chest tightened immediately. Do not say that. Why? Because if you say it, then I might start believing it. Riley's face softened. Maybe that would not be the worst thing. I laughed, but it came out rough. You did not see how fast he let go when you came outside. Ethan. No, I am serious. He looked like he regretted it. Riley opened his mouth, then shut it again. That silence made everything worse. The next day, Mason proved my fear right. At least, that was how it felt. He was not in the library during my break. No coffee. No note. No weird comment about my textbook. At lunch, he sat with his usual crowd near the windows and did not look my way once. Tyler was at the end of the same table, laughing like nothing had happened. Every time Mason leaned back or checked his phone or looked toward the doors, I waited for his eyes to find mine. They did not. By afternoon, I had convinced myself of the whole story. Mason had panicked. Mason had realized holding my hand outside a dorm was different from protecting a secret. Mason did not want this becoming real. Maybe he did not even know what this was. Maybe I had taken one soft moment and built a whole ridiculous fantasy around it because I was desperate for someone to choose me. That thought sat in my chest like a stone. After my last class, I walked the long way around campus to avoid the front doors. Bad decision. Near the student center, I saw Mason by the bike racks with that blonde girl from the lockers. Her name was Amber, I thought. She was laughing, one hand resting on his arm. Mason did not pull away. He looked tired, but he stayed there while she talked close to him. Too close. I knew I had no right to feel anything. Mason was not my boyfriend. Mason had never called this anything. He had held my hand for maybe 10 seconds and said he did not hate it, which was not exactly a love confession you carved into a tree. Still, my stomach dropped. I turned before he could see me. Or maybe after. I did not know. Ethan. His voice followed me almost immediately. I kept walking. Very mature. Very normal. Ethan, wait. His footsteps came faster behind me, but I did not stop until he caught my wrist. Not hard. Just enough to turn me around. The second his fingers touched me, I hated how badly I wanted to lean into it. I pulled my hand back instead. Mason's face changed. Okay, he murmured. I deserve that. Did you? Yeah. His eyes moved over my face, searching. I was trying to keep distance today. I laughed once. Great job. Not because I regret last night. That stopped me. Mason stepped closer, then caught himself and stayed where he was. People moved around us toward the student center doors. Too many people. Too much light. Not enough air. Then why? My voice came out quieter than I wanted. Mason looked past me, jaw tight. Tyler stood across the courtyard, watching us. Of course he was. Mason's expression hardened for half a second, then cracked into something almost helpless. Because every time I get near you, he notices. I swallowed. So you went near Amber instead? His eyebrows pulled together. Amber is my cousin. My entire body went hot. Oh, yeah. For one horrible second, neither of us moved. Then Mason let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but his eyes stayed serious. You thought I was trying to make you jealous? I looked away. I thought you were trying to go back to normal. The humor disappeared from his face. I do not want normal. My heart hit hard once. Mason looked like he regretted saying it out loud, but he did not take it back. I do not know what I am doing, he admitted, voice low enough that only I could hear. I know people are watching. I know Tyler is waiting for something he can use. And I know I am probably making this worse by acting like I can stay away from you. He paused. His throat moved. But I cannot. The courtyard noise blurred around me. I wanted to believe him so badly it scared me. Then Tyler's laugh cut across the space behind us. Mason's eyes shifted over my shoulder. And just like that, the moment tightened into something dangerous again. Tyler's laugh followed us across the courtyard like he wanted it to. Mason heard it. I heard it. Half the people nearby probably heard it too. For a second, I thought Mason would do what he always did. Go quiet. Step back. Turn into the version of himself nobody could touch. Instead, he grabbed the strap of my backpack, gentle but firm, and nodded toward the side of the student center. Come with me. Mason, please. That word got me. Not because it was dramatic. Because it sounded like it cost him something. I followed him around the corner to the little walkway behind the building, where the vending machines hummed and the wind pushed dead leaves against the brick wall. It was not private. Anyone could turn the corner, but it was quieter, less exposed. Mason stopped near the soda machine, shoved both hands into his hoodie pocket, then immediately pulled one out like he did not trust himself to hide. I am tired, he muttered. I blinked. Of what? Acting like I am handling this better than you. That shut me up. Mason looked at me then, really looked, and the anger I had been holding on to started to slip because he looked wrecked. Not messy, not broken, just tired in a way I recognized. Like somebody had been clenching his whole life and forgot how to stop. You think I know what to do? His voice stayed low. I do not. I have no idea what to do with you. My chest tightened. With me? Yeah. A short breath. Almost a laugh, but not happy. You. Looking at me like I am worth trusting. Saying things like maybe I am not what people think. Letting me hold your hand, and then walking away like I am supposed to survive that like a normal person. My face warmed. I looked down at the cracked pavement. You let go. Because Riley came out. Exactly. Because I panicked. The honesty hit harder than any excuse would have. Mason stepped closer, not enough to trap me, just enough to make the air shift. Not because I regretted it. I swallowed. It felt like you did. His eyes dropped to my hands. I had them curled into the sleeves of my jacket. He noticed. He always noticed. I am sorry. 2 words. No performance. No speech. Somehow that made it worse. Better. I did not know. I leaned back against the brick wall and forced myself to say the thing I had been choking on all day. I cannot do this if you keep pulling me close and then acting like I imagined it. Mason went still. The vending machine buzzed beside us. Somewhere around the corner, Tyler said something too loud, and a couple people laughed. Mason did not look away this time. You did not imagine it. My breath caught. He took another step. The truck. The hand. The coffee. Me watching for Tyler. None of it. Then what is it? My voice cracked a little. I hated that, but I kept going. Because I am trying really hard not to make it into something it is not. Mason's jaw flexed. His hand lifted like he was going to touch me, then stopped in the space between us. Waiting again. Always waiting now, like he knew how much it mattered that I got to choose. I do not know what to call it yet. His eyes stayed on mine. But I know I do not want to go back. The words sat between us, quiet and heavy. My heart started pounding in that stupid way it did around him. Back to what? Not knowing you. He gave a small shrug, like the truth embarrassed him. Not caring where you are. Not wondering if you ate lunch. Not wanting to punch a wall every time Tyler says your name like he owns it. A shaky laugh slipped out of me. That last part sounds unhealthy. Probably. His mouth twitched. Then it faded. But it is true. I looked at him, at the bad boy everyone warned people about, standing behind a student center soda machine, looking scared of being gentle. And something in me cracked open. Not all the way. Just enough. I am scared, I admitted. Mason nodded once. I know. No, I rubbed my thumb against my sleeve. I am scared of Tyler. I am scared of people finding out before I am ready. I am scared you are going to decide this is too much and leave me standing there with everyone staring. Mason's face changed at that. He looked almost hurt. Ethan, I know that is not fair. No, he moved closer. This time, his fingers brushed mine. Slow. Careful. It is fair. I looked down at our hands. He did not grab. He just touched my knuckles with the back of his fingers, barely there. A question. My chest ached. I turned my hand over and let him take it. Mason exhaled like he had been holding his breath since yesterday. His thumb moved once over mine. Small. Quiet. Real. I am scared too, he whispered. Of what? His eyes lifted to mine. Of being the reason you get hurt. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then Tyler's voice came from around the corner. Closer now. Cole, you hiding back there? Mason's hand tightened around mine. Not enough to hurt. Enough to tell me he did not want to let go. I looked at him. He looked at me. And this time, neither of us moved away. Tyler came around the corner with 2 guys behind him, all 3 pretending they had not been looking for us. Mason's hand was still wrapped around mine. Warm. Steady. Right there in the open between us. My first instinct was to pull away. It hit so fast I almost did it. Years of practice. Years of hiding. Years of acting normal before anyone could decide normal did not include me. Mason felt the tiny shift in my fingers. He did not tighten his grip. He did not trap me. He just looked at me. 1 quiet second. 1 choice. Mine. So I stayed. Tyler's smile grew slowly, like he had been waiting for exactly that. Well, he drawled. That explains a lot. My pulse jumped. Mason turned toward him, face calm in a way that made the air colder. Walk away. Tyler laughed. Or what? You going to hit me over your boyfriend? The word landed hard. Boyfriend. I was not ready for it. Not from Tyler. Not like that. My chest locked up. But before I could spiral, Mason looked down at our hands, then back at me. not asking me to claim anything, not forcing a label onto something still new and shaky, just checking if I was okay. That almost broke me, not in a bad way, in the way kindness does when you are not used to it. I took a breath. Then I looked at Tyler. You are really obsessed with my phone, my life, and who I stand next to. Tyler's expression flickered. One of his friends snorted, then tried to cover it with a cough. Mason's thumb brushed mine once. Small. Proud. Tyler's jaw tightened. Whatever, man. I was just joking. No. Mason cut in, voice low. You were trying to scare him. The walkway went quiet. Even the vending machine hum seemed louder. Mason reached into his hoodie pocket with his free hand and pulled out his phone. Tyler's face changed instantly. That was the first time I saw him look nervous. Mason tapped the screen and held it up just enough for Tyler to see. You want to explain why I have a recording of you telling Brandon you were going to use Ethan's secret to mess with him? My stomach dropped. I turned to Mason. He did not look away from Tyler. You recorded him? Yesterday, he muttered. After the truck. Tyler's friend stepped back half a foot. Not much. Enough. Tyler swallowed, trying to recover. That is illegal or something. Mason tilted his head. So is harassment. Want to ask campus security which one they care about more? Nobody moved. Then one of Tyler's friends mumbled. Dude, let us just go. Tyler looked like he wanted to say more, but for once, he chose survival over attention. He backed up, pointing at Mason like that made him less scared. You are psycho, Cole. Mason's face did not change. And you are boring. They left. Just like that. No huge fight. No crowd cheering. No dramatic music. Just three guys walking away because the thing they wanted to use against me stopped working. I let out a breath I had been holding for what felt like my entire life. Mason finally turned to me. You okay? I looked at him. At our hands. At the corner of the student center where, 5 minutes ago, I had been terrified of being seen. No, I admitted. Then I squeezed his hand once. But I think I am getting there. Something in his face softened so much it almost hurt to look at. Good. You could have told me about the recording. I was going to. When his mouth twitched. After I figured out how to not make it sound like I was stalking Tyler in a parking lot. I laughed. A real laugh. Shaky, but real. Mason looked at me like he wanted to memorize it. And for once, I let him. We walked back around the building together. Still holding hands. Not high in the air. Not making a show of it. Just not hiding it either. A few people looked. One girl near the doors smiled a little. Someone whispered. My stomach tightened, but it did not crush me this time. Riley was waiting inside the student center with 2 iced coffees and the expression of a man who had been pretending not to watch through the glass. So, he announced, handing me 1 cup. Are we all being normal about this? Or am I allowed to be extremely annoying? Mason took the other coffee before I could answer. Normal. Riley grinned. Cool. Extremely annoying later. I rolled my eyes, but I sat down at the table by the window. Mason sat beside me. Not across. Beside. His knee brushed mine under the table, and neither of us moved away. Nobody made a speech. Nobody declared anything to the whole campus. I was still not ready for everyone to know every part of me. Mason understood that without making me explain it. That was the thing I kept coming back to. He found my biggest secret by accident. He could have turned it into a weapon, a joke, a rumor, a reason to keep distance. Instead, he turned it into a place I could breathe. Later, when Riley got distracted arguing with someone about parking passes, Mason leaned closer and spoke quietly enough that only I could hear. For the record, I did not hate boyfriend. My face warmed. You heard that. Hard to miss. I looked at our hands resting under the table, close enough to touch again if either of us moved an inch. This time, I was the one who did. My fingers found his. Mason smiled down at his coffee, small and private. Like it was ours. And maybe that was enough for now. Not a perfect ending. Not a loud one. Just a boy who found my secret and chose to protect it until I was ready to stop being afraid of my own life. And me, sitting beside him in the middle of campus, not pretending nothing had changed.